Have you ever really stopped to think about what your body gets up to after your mind clocks out for the night? We think of sleep as this time of total peace and quiet, but for a lot of people, it's anything but. So let's dive into the absolutely wild world of what happens when our bodies decide to go rogue while we're asleep.
It all seems so random, right? Sleepwalking, talking in your sleep, even fighting in your dreams. But what if it's not a glitch? What if there's a hidden logic to it all, a set of rules that predicts these bizarre behaviors? That's the exact question we're going to unpack right now.
And I mean, the range of these things is just stunning. We're talking about the classics like sleepwalking and sleep talking, but it gets way more intense. Things like night terrors, physically acting out your dreams, and even really complex stuff like sexsomnia or raiding the fridge without ever waking up. These are all called parasomnias. So the big question is, how on earth could a single explanation cover all of this? Well, to figure out what's going wrong, first we've got to understand how this system is supposed to work. The secret is to stop thinking of your brain as one single thing and start thinking of it like a giant corporation with a really clear chain of command. So picture this. Your brain has 5 layers. Way up at the top, layer 5, that's the CEO. This is your narrative self, the part that knows who you are, your stories, your ethics. Below that, layer 4 is management. It handles all the logic and language. Then you've got layer 3, the design department, creating all the imagery in your mind. Layer 2 is the factory floor, running all the basic motor programs, like walking or grabbing things. And at the very bottom, layer 1 is the power plant, controlling your gut reactions, raw fear, and all that automatic stuff. Now, when you're awake, the CEO is in charge. But at night, a critical safety feature is supposed to kick in. It's called top-down inhibition. Basically, the higher levels of the brain, the CEO, put the lower levels on lockdown. It's like the boss sending out a memo saying, okay, everyone, shut down the machines, we're closed for the night. This is what's supposed to keep you from physically lurching around every time you have a dream. But that safety system can fail. It can be overwritten. And to get how that happens, we need to add the second major piece to our puzzle. This internal force that builds up all day and just has to be released at night. Just think about all the stuff you deal with every single day. The stress, the decisions, the arguments, the joys, it all builds up. In this scientific model, they bundle all of that together and call it strain. It's like this emotional and cognitive pressure that accumulates in your brain's wiring. And your brain's main job during sleep is to process and get rid of all that built-up strain. And this is where it gets really interesting. What happens when you have a massive amount of this strain that needs to be discharged, but layer 5, the CEO, your conscious, self-aware self, is completely offline, totally asleep? I mean, that pressure has to go somewhere, right? It has to find another way out. And the path that pressure takes is determined by one last crucial clue, this dramatic shift in power that happens inside your head every single night, a handover between the two halves of your brain. See, when you're awake, your left brain is pretty much running the show. It's the logical, language-loving part that keeps the story of you going. But when you fall asleep, it powers way down and the right brain takes over the night shift. And the right brain speaks a totally different language. It's all about imagery, raw emotion, and spatial awareness. This is why sleep behaviors can be so weird. They're often spatially perfect, like navigating a room flawlessly, but emotionally bizarre and completely illogical. Okay, so we have our 3 key ingredients, the 5-layer brain, the pressure from strain, and that shift to the right brain's world. Now, let's put it all together. This is where we can finally solve the mysteries of what our bodies are doing in the dark. And with this framework, everything just clicks into place for those non-REM sleep disorders. Think about sleepwalking. All that built-up strain bypasses the sleeping CEO in layer 5 and directly activates the factory floor in layer 2. The result? Your body can walk and navigate, but you aren't there. With night terrors, the strain is so intense it basically blows a fuse in the power plant, layer 1, and you get this explosion of pure, storyless fear. And in sexsomnia, instinctual programs in layer 2 get triggered while the ethical CEO is completely offline. The behavior is totally automatic, not conscious. Okay, but what about acting out dreams? That's a little different. That's a REM sleep thing when we have our most vivid dreams, and it points to a failure in a totally separate safety system.
So, in a normal REM cycle, your brain's design department, layer 3, is going wild, creating these amazing dreams. But at the same time, your brainstem is supposed to hit a switch that paralyzes your body so you don't act them out. In REM sleep behavior disorder, or RBD, that paralysis switch is broken. The signal fails. So the incredible imagery from the dream literally leaks down and takes control of the factory floor. The person is physically living out their dream, with the right brain's fantasy world pulling the strings of the body.
What is so unbelievably cool about this whole framework is that it goes way beyond just sleep. This core principle of intense pressure bypassing the brain's normal gatekeepers, we see it in other neurological conditions too. Just look at the comparison to certain types of epileptic seizures. In both situations, you can get these complex motor behaviors like walking or talking without any conscious awareness. Now, the trigger is different, of course, sleep instability versus a seizure, but the mechanism is shockingly similar. A powerful electrical signal overrides the brain's normal controls and activates motor programs without any permission from the CEO. And this all leads to a really profound idea. We love to think of consciousness as a simple on or off switch. You're either awake or you're asleep. But the science shows us that's just not true. Consciousness and action are graded. They're not binary. They exist on a spectrum. So let's just boil it down. The key takeaway here is that these sleep behaviors aren't just random glitches. No, they are the predictable result of a system under pressure. They happen when certain layers of your brain are awake and active, while others are totally asleep. And it proves that consciousness really isn't an all-or-nothing switch. And that leaves us with one final, kind of unsettling question to chew on. If your brain can run all of these complex programs, walking, talking, eating, all without your conscious self anywhere in sight, it really makes you wonder, who or what is actually in control?